On this special Halloween installment of Psychrad, we are going to talk about a couple of things that are very scary. Stephen King's fictional character Jack Torrance from The Shining, and the all-too-real problem of alcohol abuse. As a matter of fact, we're going to present this gruesome twosome as a case study, and outline a treatment plan based on the SORC theoretical model.
Hey, you want to see something really scary?
Jack and Wendy Torrance have come in for marriage counseling. Jack and Wendy have been married for 14 years, but Wendy is threatening to leave Jack if he does not change his ways. Reluctantly, Jack has agreed to attend counseling sessions with Wendy, but according to him, it's a waste of time. Wendy sits next to Jack, and when he attempts to hold her hand, she pushes him away and looks perturbed. Wendy is a slight woman with a thin frame and gaunt features. Jack is not a very big man, but he is much larger than his petite wife.
He's large.
Jack's clothes are disheveled, he has a prominent 5 o'clock shadow, and he smells faintly of alcohol. He sits there looking sullen and a bit irritated as Wendy begins to explain why they have sought counseling. Wendy states that she believes Jack has a drinking problem. Jack immediately guffaws at this statement, and looking down at his arms, which are folded tightly to his chest, he defends himself, claiming that he's a weekend warrior and only drinks beer and an occasional shot or two of whiskey on the weekend. Interrupting him, Wendy argues that you drink more than that, Jack. Jack glares back at her as if he were about to shout, but seems to compose himself before doing so. Wendy continues, stating that Jack drinks heavily on the weekend and sometimes on weekdays after work, and when he is drunk, he is a son of a bitch. When asked what she means by this last statement, she goes on to say that Jack is fine when he's sober, but when he drinks too much, he flies off the handle over every little thing. According to Wendy, this causes them to have hellacious arguments that go on for hours, and that on more than one occasion, the neighbors have called the police. But each time the police only gave the couple a warning. When asked if there were ever any physical altercations between the two of them, they both said no, but Wendy hesitated before responding and looked as if she had more to say about this. Upon further prompting, her eyes began to swell up with tears, and she said sobbingly, "He hurt Danny."
My husband had been drinking, and he came home about 3 hours late, so he wasn't exactly in the greatest mood that night. And, well, Danny had scattered some of his school papers all over the room, and my husband grabbed his arm, to pull him away from him. It's just the sort of thing you do 100 times with a child, in the park or in the streets. But on this particular occasion, my husband just used too much strength, and he injured Danny's arm.
Danny is Jack and Wendy's 10-year-old son. According to Wendy, while in a drunken rage, Jack grabbed Danny by the arm and in doing so injured the boy, and Danny had to be rushed to the hospital where he was diagnosed with a sprain. Despite Danny's injuries, no charges were filed against Jack. Jack's face begins to flush and he seems to be gritting his teeth as Wendy talks about the incident with Danny, and before she can finish, he slams his fist down on the arm of the chair and shouts, "That little shit knocked all my papers on the floor. It was an accident." Jack tells his side of the story, stating that
I did hurt him once, okay? It was an accident. Completely unintentional. Could have happened to anybody. And it was 3 goddamn years ago. The little fucker had thrown all my papers all over the floor. All I tried to do was pull them up. A momentary loss of muscular coordination. Few extra foot-pounds of energy per second.
Jack claims that his physical aggression towards his son was an isolated incident. However, Wendy claims that he has been violent with Danny before and is either lying or does not remember it because he was drunk. When questioned further about this, Jack grows increasingly angry and in a fit of rage storms out of the office, slamming the door violently behind him. Wendy looks weary and tearful and says, "See what I mean?" There's at least 3 obvious issues that seem to be the cause of Jack and Wendy's marital discord: alcohol abuse, volatile rage, and child abuse. And although Jack seems to be the main perpetrator of these dysfunctional behaviors, there may be some less obvious factors that both Jack and Wendy are responsible for that are contributing to the problem. However, in this video, we will focus primarily on the alcohol abuse.
Indians.
Jack's alcohol abuse and anger issues can both be addressed in a therapeutic setting. However, any indication that a child is being abused warrants a red flag, and mandatory reporting of child abuse to a child protective agency is required by law. This is not to say that child abuse is untreatable in a therapeutic setting, but that it is the legal and ethical duty of mental health care professionals to report such incidents, and once it has been dealt with by the proper authorities, it can then be addressed therapeutically. There are many ways in which alcohol abuse can adversely affect a family. Both psychological and physical problems are quite prevalent among spouses of alcoholics. Studies show that men who abuse alcohol are more likely to abuse their spouses than those who do not. The children of alcoholics also tend to have psychological problems, as well as behavioral issues and school-related problems. Children of alcoholics are also at a greater risk of developing an alcohol abuse problem themselves. According to national child abuse statistics, children whose parents abuse alcohol and other drugs are 3 times more likely to be abused and more than 4 times more likely to be neglected than children of non-abusing families. The impairments in normal functioning of individuals who abuse alcohol can also factor into the overall dysfunction of the family, in that the alcoholic's deficits in functioning can adversely affect his or her ability to live up to parental role responsibilities, thus placing extra burden on other family members, especially their non-alcoholic partners. Other symptoms associated with alcohol abuse that can lead to or exacerbate family dysfunction include unpredictable behavior and deficits in communication and problem solving between partners and other family members.
Wendy, I'm home.
Several theoretical models of alcohol abuse as it relates to the family have been developed over the years. Many of these models focused on the spouses and family members' roles in the perpetuation of alcohol abuse-related family dysfunction, some placing the blame on the neurosis of the spouse of the problem drinker and other family members' need for homeostatic balance. However, we will focus on the theoretical model based on the assumption that the drinking behavior of the alcoholic or problem drinker is embedded in a complex network of factors related to the individual physiology and psychology of the drinker, the family, and other social networks. The SORC model posits that the problem drinker's behavior both influences and is influenced by his or her social network. The SORC model conceptualized the drinking response as elicited by environmental stimuli which occur antecedent to drinking mediated by cognitive, affective, and physiological organismic factors, and maintained by positive consequences of drinking. In layman's terms, Jack's drinking is triggered by external incidents and situations, as well as internal variables such as his thoughts and emotions, and his drinking is unintentionally further encouraged by certain desirable outcomes and/or responses.
Good morning, hon. Your breakfast is ready.
What time is it?
It's about 11:30.
11:30. Jesus.
I guess we've been staying up too late.
I know it.
I made them just the way you like them, sunny side up.
Oh, nice.
Factors within the family dynamic that can perpetuate a pattern of problem drinking include the attempts of family members to control the problem drinker's behavior, such as nagging him or her to stop drinking, controlling finances and/or liquor supply, deficits in communication and problem solving, and a variety of marital, sexual, financial, and child-rearing problems. Some of the other family-related negative consequences of alcohol abuse that can perpetuate the problem include withdrawal from or avoidance of the problem drinker by partners and family members, humiliation or degradation of the problem drinker through the negative comments of partners and family members, and in some cases, physical abuse inflicted upon the problem drinker by partners and family members. Most often, these negative consequences lead to the problem drinker alienating or isolating themselves from their partners or family members in an attempt to avoid conflict and/or hide their drinking, and as a consequence, a pattern of deception and avoidance emerges that in turn culminates in further and sometimes increased alcohol abuse. Despite all of the dysfunction alcohol abuse can bring to a family, there may be positive consequences that appeal to the problem drinker and reinforce his or her desire to drink. Many times the partner and or family members of the problem drinker will take on the role of caretaker, cleaning up after them, covering up for them when they shirk their basic responsibilities, coddling them, and avoiding confrontations with them when they are drinking. And although these are considered natural responses to an ill family member, behaviors such as the aforementioned may in fact exacerbate the problem through the positive reinforcement of the problematic behaviors. According to the SORC model, some of the other interpersonal factors that may influence alcohol abuse may include social pressures, work-related situations, and peer pressure. And in addition, the SORC model also recognizes non-dyadic factors that contribute to a family member's alcohol abuse, such as familial transmission, comorbidity of other psychiatric disorders, and interactions with either of the partner's family of origin. Based on the SORC model, a treatment has been designed that can be used to treat alcohol abuse in families such as Jack and Wendy's. This treatment approach involves intervening at multiple levels with the individual, the spouse, the relationship as a unit, the family, and other social systems in which the drinker is involved. The first part of this treatment model requires thorough assessment in order to uncover the factors that may be reinforcing or perpetuating the alcohol abuse and to determine the strengths and weaknesses of both the individual and couple and potential motivations for changing the undesired behavior. This initial assessment phase helps the problem drinker to recognize the antecedents to alcohol abuse and establish reinforcers for moderation or abstinence, which in turn provides an incentive framework for the rest of therapy. From here, the individual is taught coping skills he or she can draw on when faced with alcohol-related situations. These coping skills include self-management planning, stimulus control, drink refusal, and self-monitoring of drinking. Specific coping skills that tailor-fit the individual should be taught as well, and should include assertiveness, cognitive restructuring, relaxation, lifestyle balance, and recreational activities. The second phase of the SORC-based treatment approach centers on the non-alcoholic partner's coping skills. In this phase of treatment, the partner or spouse of the individual with a drinking problem is encouraged to assess his or her own behaviors that may cue or maintain his or her partner's drinking, and is taught to develop new ways in which to express feelings concerning his or her partner's drinking. In this phase of the treatment, the non-alcoholic spouses or partners can also learn healthier ways to respond to their partner's alcohol abuse and alcohol-induced behaviors.
Come on!
The third phase of treatment focuses on the interactions between the two partners around both alcohol and other issues. In this phase, the couple learns new ways of communicating and problem solving through discussions involving topics related to alcohol. This phase of treatment is based on the SORC model's assumption that marital conflicts that may trigger drinking are the result of poor communication and problem solving skills. The fourth phase of treatment involves interventions that focus on other social systems in which the drinker and the partner are currently or potentially involved. In this phase, clients are taught to identify people, places, and situations that are associated with and could trigger the individual's desire to drink, as well as people, places, and situations that are safe for the individual and that have the opposite influence, such as AA meetings and other non-alcoholic related social settings. The fifth and final phase of treatment focuses on the maintenance of new behaviors. This phase of treatment includes homework assignments, reinforcement of coping skills for high-risk situations, and follow-up treatment sessions. Although the treatment plan presented here focuses primarily on alcohol abuse, it is likely that Jack's anger issues and the potential for further physical aggression towards Danny would be decreased as well.
I destroyed my liver with some Jim Beam and a nice Chianti. Damn!
If October takes over with heartache and pain, if your girl breaks your heart and it can't be contained, Halloween with Jim